by the end of year 1, we did almost a business of 10 crores. If I had taken drugs, my FFMI score is... Hey guys, my name is Jitendra Chouksey. This is basically an intro video. Last year, I had made a New Year resolution that I'll start posting more videos on YouTube, and I started my YouTube channel last year. I did start the YouTube channel, but I did not really post much on it. But now I think I'll be more active on YouTube. I'll post videos regularly. Before we go ahead and I create this into a full-fledged community, start posting more about it, I think it's good for us to have a round of introduction, because you know how the world is these days. Like, a lot of people would ask me, "Arey bhaiya, ho kaun?" So I want to talk briefly about my background. I don't like talking about all of this because I'm not that kind of a person, but this is introduction video. So I think it's imperative that I talk a little bit about who I am. Maybe that will help you build trust on me, my capabilities, and hopefully my track record will also help you understand where I'm coming from. So I'll give you a little bit of background. I'm 38 years old. I live in Pune with my wife and daughter, and I'm about to become a father for the second time. My next baby is due in October. By education, I'm a software engineer. I come from a very small village. Born in Polaha. It's a very small village, about 25 kilometers from Bhopal, which is the capital of MP. From there, me, my brother, my late sister, we got educated, and then I did my software engineering. I worked as a software engineer in different companies. I worked as a software engineer for 8 years. Personally, I've been training since I was a kid. I started training when I was 14 years old. So roughly been training for a good 24, 25 years now. I started getting more into fitness after my daughter's birth. At the time, I was also smoking and drinking. So I quit them because I just wanted to be a good father for my daughter. I started taking fitness more seriously. And then I started taking part in some fitness competitions. In fact, back then there was this show called MTV Fitness Fan Challenge, and me and there was one more guy. So we were the 2 finalists from the entire Pune who made it to the show. And that kind of propelled me into the CrossFit, high intensity style training. And then I started doing a bit of fitness modeling, got featured in Men's Health, and I started becoming a little bit popular on social media, especially Facebook, because back then there was no Instagram. And I started training some people. So people approached me on Facebook, some people from my company, some people who visited me in the gym. They asked me if I can help them get fit. And at the time, you know, when anybody looked at my physique, they naturally thought that I was taking some drugs, which I don't, by the way. And I'll clarify that also. So they thought that I was taking drugs and maybe I'm running some sort of like, you know, some secret or something, right? So, but there was no secret. It was more of self-experimentation. And when I was getting into fitness, I've read up a lot. I started experimenting a lot on myself. I started reading a lot of stuff on bodybuilding forums. That's where I accumulated a lot of my knowledge. So I started training those guys, and those guys started getting results. They told other people told other people. And soon I was training about 200 plus people on my WhatsApp group from all over the world. And when they started getting results, it was getting too overwhelming. And I was training them for free. So we created a community on Facebook, the Fittr community, which roughly has 700,000 plus people now. And we created this community, and I asked people, hey, why don't you guys post your queries and questions? And so it was 2014-15, we created this community on Facebook. People started asking questions, and I was answering questions. And around the same time, I also wrote a book called Get Shredded. So it's basically a 35 page document where I had listed everything, right from calculating calories to calculating macros, creating your diet plan, training plan. And I asked people if they can read this document, implement. If they have any doubts, they can post their queries in the group, and I'd be able to help them. Right, and the community became a very thriving community. At that time, it was very popular, one of the largest private communities on Facebook. Soon after, I started taking seminars. I must have taken around 200 plus seminars globally in corporates in different countries, US, Singapore, UAE, Australia, different places. You know, so I took all these seminars, and then more people joined. The community became bigger and bigger. And around 2015-16, we formulated this company. The idea was that if people come and they ask questions, their knowledge is free. But if somebody needs, let's say, hand-holding, if they need one-on-one coaching, because a lot of people wanted me to personally train them, which I don't like doing, and I'll tell you the reason for that also. I said, maybe it would be a great idea if we start some sort of a website or a company where people can pick the coaches, and the coaches can do all the hard work, because you need to learn a lot about health and nutrition, and nobody has the time, right? So if you want to take help from a coach, pay the coach a small amount of money, and the coach pays X percentage to Fittr, and the coach keeps this. This way we'd be able to create jobs, and we'd be able to make many more people fit. So we bootstrapped the company. I collected about 90,000 rupees from first set of initial stakeholders who were also part of the same community. So I found all of my founders on Facebook. We created this website with me and just one backend developer. And we launched this website on January 2016 first. And the first month itself, we did a business of about 10 lakh rupees and continued bootstrapping. By the end of year one, we did almost a business of 10 crores. And so we are now a multi-million-dollar company, having funded by the likes of DreamCap, Sequoia, Elysian Park Capital, and more recently, Zerotha, which is Nitin Kamat's company. So all in all, Fittr is a company that does like 100 plus crores of revenue every year. We also had some bad years in between. So being an entrepreneur, I've seen the ups and downs from going from bootstrap profitable to funded, not making money, to back to being profitable again. I have a lot of rich experience when it comes to entrepreneurship, although I don't think I'm an expert at running businesses. A lot of things that we do also are dependent on market factors and luck, right? But where I do feel that I can add a lot of value is basically nutrition, not even exercise science. I'm specifying nutrition because I think nutrition is my forte. I'm really good at nutrition. And I'll tell you how I accumulated all of this knowledge. So when it started off, it was more like bodybuilding forums, then online debates. Then, one thing led to another. People asking questions has definitely contributed a lot to where my knowledge comes from. Because if somebody asks questions and if I don't know the answer to that, I will immediately go check, learn more about it, right? So in fact, we were doing a mental calculation, and if you believe the math, I would have answered roughly 200,000 plus queries in the last 10 years or so. 200,000 queries I have answered in the last 10 years. That's how many questions I've answered. So even if you consider, let's say, a unique 5,000 odd questions, that's a lot, right? So I know quite a bit when it comes to nutrition and training, and more from a practical standpoint because I've trained a lot of people. Some of the famous people you'd know would be Nas Daily, Miss World Canada, and so many people I oversee their fitness journeys, especially HNIs and ultra HNIs. I don't personally train people unless until I can make an educational series out of it. So today, if I train somebody, first, I don't do it for money. I do it as a collab, which goes out on social media, and it's primarily for educational purposes. So, which is exactly what we did with Jamie, who's the Miss Canada. And we also did a random selection of a person, Deepak, and his series is now available on YouTube for anybody to watch and learn from. He ended up losing more than 20 plus kgs, roughly 23 kgs so far. And so you can also watch and learn from that series. Now, coming to my professional experience, I did my ISS certification back in 2015, just for namesake. Then I learned a lot from Khan Academy. So my statistical knowledge, my knowledge about biochemistry comes from Khan Academy. It's a open platform. Anybody can go and learn from there. Then I also did my online course, about 8-month long course from Harvard online. So Harvard actually offers online courses. So I did my 8-month course in biochemistry. And then I also work with, or had the privilege of working with, some nutrition expert scientists, because some of them have been associated with Fittr at some point of time. Dr. Eric Helms, Menno Henselmans is actually a part of Fittr. He's one of the early believers in Fittr. He's also a stakeholder in INFS. INFS is our subsidiary company, which has trained about 26,000 plus professionals. They also have PhDs and scientists on their panel who basically write the entire course material, right? So I've had the privilege of working with scientists and PhDs. So where I lack in my educational qualifications, it's like I don't have a degree, but I make it up for my knack of, self-studying, very dedicated when it comes to learning subjects. I've also published a book. Unlike Get Shredded, this was not a free book. It's published by Rupa Publications, which are one of the largest publications in India. They approached me and we published the book called Lose Fat and Get Fitter. The book is a bestseller. It has sold, maybe 20,000 plus copies or more. And besides this, I make reels on Instagram. Some of the reels have become quite famous. In 1 year's time, I was able to gain about 500,000 plus followers on Instagram. I have around 300,000 plus followers on Facebook and YouTube. So coming to YouTube, why am I making videos on YouTube? Because I've started enjoying this. I can make these long format videos, but don't expect me to add a lot of graphic. I want these videos to be free flowing, especially if you are going on a long drive, if you are working out in the gym, maybe you can just plug in and listen to this, because I realize that that's exactly what I do, especially when I'm traveling somewhere or when I'm working out in the gym. I just love plugging in my headphones and listen to random podcasts. And I feel that same value cannot be offered in a reel. Reels just are too much distraction. I'm not saying I will stop making the reels, but I think I'm kind of getting why people make YouTube videos. I'm liking it. So now, this is what my background is. Now, let's get the elephant out of the room. Have I taken drugs, or can these kind of muscles be built naturally? There's a concept of FFMI. FFMI stands for Fat Free Mass Index. You can search it on Google. Usually, if your FFMI is above 24, that's when you can suspect somebody that they have taken something. My FFMI score is around 21. My height is about 176, which is 5'9" and a half something, and 68, 69 kgs. And I'm super shredded. So I typically stay at 6 to 8% body fat. You take out any of my pictures from last 10 years, bearing when I was away from the gym for the 6-month period when I had back injury. So 2016 and 17, some part when I was like in a really bad shape because of my back injury. If you take out any of the pictures, you'll always see me in that 6 to 8% zone. So I've been doing this for the last 10 years, and my FFMI has remained around 21, right? So it's pretty naturally possible. The FFMI that I have currently is above average, but it's neither in the superior category, neither in the genetically blessed category, nor is it in a suspicious category. 21 is pretty normal, right? So not just this, you can achieve much, much better results compared to this naturally. If I had taken drugs, again, some people would say, maybe he's taking GH in low dosages. I don't. Obviously, I can't convince you otherwise. I have published my blood reports from time to time. My biceps, they look huge, but I had also published a video on my Instagram where I actually measured them live, and they're just 13.5. And when I flex them, they become 15. So it's basically muscle maturity. My limbs are short, and camera adds 10 pounds. So always remember this. Apart from this, what else? So I'm not on TRT. Like I said, I'm about to become a father for the second time. So there's no way I could be on TRT. The only doubt I cannot remove from your mind is if I take any sort of the beta blockers like clenbuterol. I can't convince you I haven't taken clenbuterol except for telling you I don't, because it's very easy to stay shredded. I just stay on a very healthy deficit. So I stay typically around 1800, 2000 calories. For my activity levels, it's actually pretty low. And for my activity levels, I think 18 to 2000 is my sweet spot. If I go above 2000, I start gaining fat. And if I stay below 1800, I have a strong craving. So after so years of experimentation, 1800, 2000 is my sweet spot. At this caloric intake, I typically manage to stay between 6 to 8% body fat, right? And then I train harder than normal folks. I'm not saying I train longer, but I typically in a session of 1.5 hours, if you come see me working out at Multifit Karate, any of you are welcome to work out with me. I probably do have a video working out with one of the YouTubers, and he'll confirm that my training is pretty intense. So I don't work out for 4 hours or 5 hours, although I can pretty much, and I have in the past, but nowadays I just work out for 1.5 hours, and my training is pretty intense. I also do boxing. I also know Muay Thai, which I learned when I was in Thailand for about 4 months. But most of my training now is focused around boxing. I think this is just an introduction so that we can build mutual trust. Now, in the last 10 plus years of learning and educating people, I do have a lot of experience, which I believe that if somebody is really keen on learning, there's a lot I can teach you. In fact, there are some of the videos which I created during my very early days on YouTube: motion, nutrition, hydration, rest. If you watch those videos, on top of that, if you watch my podcast series, you would already learn a lot. But who cares if you don't want to watch those videos? Maybe this is an opportunity for us to start something fresh, new. And so you can expect a video every week from me. And I'd love to teach you everything that I have learned in the last 10 plus years. Yeah. What's the agenda? Why am I doing this? I think, so one is the educator in me. I like creating content. I like making these videos. I have been doing this for a very long time, long before Instagram existed. If you go and search in the Fittr community, you'd see very long posts of me. I love answering questions. I love answering queries. And despite me, I'm now a CEO, or you can say a group CEO, this is something which I love doing, which is like if you ask me a question, I somehow will go and answer queries, right? I like doing that. Besides, I think it's also a great way to build trust. And I believe that for a company like Fittr, we save a lot of advertisement money because, education is sort of like advertisement. If I can educate you, then there's a high probability that you'll trust me and therefore trust my company. If hundreds of you get free education, some of you might at some point of time enroll with a coach, and that works for us. So it's not a charity. A lot of people think that this is some sort of a charitable podcast. I want to clarify there's no such thing as free lunches, and this is not charity, but it's a win-win situation where I don't see how anybody will not benefit from this. Like, I'm definitely benefiting from it because I like doing this. Second, if you build trust, some of you might go and enroll with coaches in our company. So that's a win-win for me. And for people who don't enroll in the company, they are still getting free education. So if you are a self-motivated guy who don't need help of a coach, you will learn everything there is. And the knowledge that I will share, I will make sure it's very high quality. In the next few episodes, what I want to do is I first want to get the basics out, which means that we'll talk about the basic body's anatomy and basic physiology. And once we have the basic anatomy and physiology out of the way, maybe we'll talk about cellular respiration a bit, just cellular concepts. And then after, discussing some bit of cellular concepts, then we'll deep dive into planning your nutrition, training, and all the advanced concepts. But everything starts at a very fundamental level. So if you are somebody who's very keen on learning, or even if you're a coach, I think these episodes will be a great value add. And that's pretty much it. I don't want to bore you, and I don't want to keep these episodes long, but because I'm doing this again, I would love to hear some feedback from you on the length of the episode, or maybe anything else. Like, somebody did suggest me that I need to have a more catchy thumbnails, clickbait kind of cover photos. I don't want to do that. I don't think it just doesn't go with my personality. But yeah, I will hear some of your suggestions. Some of them I will implement, but some of them I will not implement because, like I said, the goal is not to build a huge community of 1 million followers or 10 million followers, but maybe a community of a few 100,000 people, but a more engaged community. I think that's the goal here. So yep, that's pretty much it. This is episode number 1, an intro episode. I'll also stick this on YouTube, and then next episode onwards, we'll probably deep dive into topics in more detail. All right, I'll see you guys next week.